Welcome to the Felecia Marshall Experience on WeBelieve.global, where we empower mothers who have lost children to violence. My daughter, Alexia K. Buckhalter, was murdered on March 14, 2017, here in the city of Jackson. Each program is dedicated to her memory. Today, we will discuss issues that are informative, inspirational, and involved, empowering mothers to speak for their sons and daughters who can't speak for themselves. Welcome to the Felecia Marshall Experience. Tonight's show is brought to you by EarthBlendCoffee.global. Black-owned, roasted right here in the city of Jackson. It's just great coffee. The link is in the Facebook description box. Click on the link and support our sponsor, EarthBlendCoffee.global. Welcome to the Felecia Marshall Experience. Thank you guys for being here today. Today I have a guest with me, Miss Coreaner Price. She's from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and her son was actually killed in 2020. As I was reading this morning some statistics, and it talks about Mississippi is the highest, has the highest murder rate killed by gun violence. And so what we're experiencing is not just a city of Jackson issue. We're experiencing a state, Mississippi state issue. And so today I have my guest with me, Miss Coreaner Price. I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her.
My name is Coreaner Price. I'm the mother of Tedarron Price. I live in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I'm a native of Jefferson Davis County, Prentice, Mississippi. I'm a 1990 graduate of Prentice High School.
Oh, welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
So glad that you were able to join us today. And I'm going to just ask a few questions about your son. And can you tell us a little bit about him specifically, and then we'll get into the details of his murder.
Ooh, he was one of a kind. He was unique. He was himself no matter when you saw him. He was a people person. He loved to dance. Oh my God, he loved to dance. He had some fancy footwork. He was just a lovable person. I mean, what you saw is what you got. He wasn't one way in front of me and another way when I wasn't around. He was him. He was the life of the party. Well known.
It sounds like he had a lot of friends.
Ooh, yes. Yes, he did. Young and old.
Tell me a little bit about the week leading up to your son's death.
The week leading up to my son's death, it was a lot of chaos, miscommunication, gossip that was going on. He had a friend that was killed like that Sunday. He was happy. He seemed distant, for a little while. He talked about his life. He talked about love. He made peace with a lot of people. And all he kept saying, make sure my little girl is straight. I love you, Mama. Every day he would text, I love you. I love you. And I didn't think about it, until after he got killed.
Was that unusual for him to text like that?
It wasn't unusual. It's just that the number of times he did it. And he kept telling his sister, like, come up here, come get me, come. And if he came to the house, he had his daughter with him because he wanted to make sure his sister and his daughter built a relationship. And we sit back now, we think about that.
How old was he?
He was 27.
27. Wow. So the week leading up to his death, he was actually, do you think he felt it?
I think he did. His girlfriend, she did say some things that he was saying to her, but she never did tell us until after the fact. But it's just the morning that I put him out of my car, he got out the car, and he was like, I love you, Ma. And he kissed me on my jaw. And that was the last time I saw him.
Wow. It's amazing to me because that's kind of similar to my story. I put my daughter out. She would ride with me from Terry to Jackson, and she would get off right at the corner where Pascagoula goes under that little bridge. She would get off right there, and she would walk to the bus station, and that was the last time I saw her. when I put her out of my car. That picture that was shown here was the last picture I took of her.
Wow.
And she was sitting in my car. And so when you mentioned that, that just kind of reminded me of the last time that I saw my baby as well. So can you tell me about the call? You know, we all as mothers have received the call, and all of us that have lost our children to violence. And so we know where we were, we know what we were feeling, we know what was happening. We'll never forget that. So can you tell me where you were when you received the call?
I didn't get the call. I got a knock at my door.
Wow.
Because where my son was killed at, it wasn't even really a mile from where we live. And it was a knock at the door. And my baby girl, she was like, that ain't nobody but Tedarron doing that old stupid stuff. Because he always did crazy stuff. And when she opened the door, the lady said, can y'all come? Y'all need to get to the store. Duncan just got shot. Because that was his name. That was his street name. And I remember going round and round in a circle, because I was like, did I just hear her and hear what she said? And my daughter, she grabbed her keys and she left first. Then my baby girl left, and then I got in my car. I was so nervous. It's like I couldn't even crank my car. And it's like when I cranked my car, it was like I was just nervous about putting it in reverse. I remember getting up to the store. I remember they had tape all around. And I remember my daughter telling the police officer, don't let her cross this line. And I remember my son laying there. And I saw this firefighter. He was working on it. He was trying to save him. And I heard him say, where's the ambulance? What's taking the ambulance so long? I remember the ambulance pulling up. I remember them putting him in the ambulance, and I left. I had to go home and put some clothes on, and I remember I still, like, I was just going in a circle, and my fiance, he was like, come on, he said, I'll drive you. I remember getting to the hospital. A lot of people was there. Everybody was saying this, everybody was saying that. My daughter hadn't made it there yet because she was still on the crime scene. And I remember praying. And when I prayed, it's like 5 minutes after I got through praying, the doctor come out and they said, we need the immediate family. I went in, me, my baby girl, and the doctor started to talk. And I told him, I said, he didn't make it. And he said no, and he went to telling me, like, he tried everything he could to save him, but he couldn't. I just said, to God be the glory. I walked out. I remember it poured down raining. It just poured down. We stood outside the hospital because they wouldn't allow me to see him, because I asked them, just can I see him? They told me no. They said because his body had to go to the crime lab. And he was already identified on the scene, so we didn't have to identify him.
That's one of the common things that I hear when I ask the mothers the question. Two things that they remember is the crime scene tape and the lights, the police lights. Crime scene tape is always in our minds, is when we see crime scene tape. And the flash, if it's at night particularly, the flashing of the lights just does something. And it's something that we as moms, we don't wish that on anybody, being able to, number one, to have to go past that crime scene tape and see the flashing lights and see your child's body laying lifeless on the streets. And so that's one of the things that, we want to bring attention to is from the mom's perspective, what that looks like and what that feels like to see your child's lifeless body. Too many of us have had to experience that, and I think it's taken so lightly. I was speaking to a mom earlier this week, and her daughter was buried a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, I'm crying, and she was like, everybody else goes back to normal, After the burial, everybody else goes back to normal, but we never go back to normal. It's never normal to us. And so that's one of the things that we want to bring attention or bring light to when we are having these moms coming in telling the stories about losing their children. Is because we want the public to know, number one, that we have to stop. We have to stop this killing of our children. And number two, we want people to be able to see the faces that are attached to these names that are going across the TV screens for days and days and days. I'm sure for you it was the same way, because he was a murder victim. Then it was a part of the media. Can you explain that part?
The hardest part. It's a guy in Hattiesburg that goes to different crime scenes. He says, I'm on the scene like gangster lean. And for almost 2 weeks, every crime scene he went on, he talked about the young man that got shot on Edward Street, how long it took the ambulance to get there. And I'm like, wow, is this all he's going to talk about? And then just watching the news when they were talking about it, and just basically, going back and forth to the police station. And my daughter, she did a lot of it. She took when I tell you she was strong, because when it came down to doing certain things, she said, I'm going to do this for my brother. She said, I don't want my mama to see it. She said, I'm going to do it for my brother. And she was strong. I mean, that's all I could say. She was strong. And her main thing, she just kept saying, I'm doing it for my brother. It's hard. I mean, it's hard. I don't wish this on no one. And then sometimes you ask yourself, what is normal?
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't think we even remember what normal is at this point, because we can't remember what life was prior to the phone call or prior to the knock at the door. It's like our life never will go back to what was normal to us at that particular time, because this person will always be missing from our tables. We'll always be missing on birthdays and mother days, always be missing from our lives, period. And so we're just left with the pieces of all of that. And so I don't think we even know what normal is. And for me, I had to turn the TV off. Because my daughter's murder was the 14th murder of 2017. And they did not contact me. I did not give a statement to the media. And they found one of my daughter's photos off of her Facebook page. And to me, it looked like one of the worst photos that they could have used. And that was the photo that they used of my baby. And it was going on for 3 days. The media was going for 3 days. And I finally just had to turn the TV off. Somebody called the station and gave them information, said that they were me, and they were not. No one tried to contact me to find out whether or not it was a legitimate person. And that story was run based on somebody else's information. So that's another face of when we lose a child to murder. There are so many layers and so many pieces that go with that, and the public, I don't think, understands all of the things that. And Facebook, oh my goodness, Facebook, I had to it took weeks to get Lexi's Facebook page down.
And we still haven't took Tedarron's Facebook page down. Even now, I mean, it's like daily. It's a post on there sometimes about him. My son was who he was. I'm just gonna be honest, And I told him, I said, he used to always tell me, Mama, one day you gonna see. Ain't no joke. You gonna see. And I see that. I have even older women come that lived in the apartment complex that he lived in. Mm-hmm. They was like, he was so mannerable. One lady was like, if I was taking my garbage out, he would get my garbage and take it for me. Mm-hmm. If I pull up and I'm getting groceries out the car, he would get the groceries and bring them in. He was just that type of person. Mm-hmm. He was him now. He lived his life.
Well, hold that thought. We're going to continue that in just a minute. We're going to break for a second, and we're going to go to commercial break. And then when we come back, we're going to finish the story about your son and who he was to all of the people that love him and miss him. Okay? All
right. Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Welcome back. Today we're visiting with Miss Price, who's from Hattiesburg, whose son was murdered in 2020. And we're just having a little conversation about him, and she's going to finish the last segment. So can you tell us a little bit about this son that everybody loved?
Ooh, boy, he was the life of the party. I mean, he enjoyed his life. That's all I can say. He really enjoyed life. And he always would tell me he have no regrets. Mm-hmm. I used to be like, why you always in the club? Why you always doing it? He said, Mama, I got one life to live and I'm going to live it. And he did.
Have you gotten any negative comments about his death because of the way that he lived?
Not really. It's just that I don't feel like that some of, how can I put it? Some things were not taken serious because of his lifestyle, because of who and what he was affiliated with. I feel like that some things weren't taken serious.
Mm. I do find that in some instances, a lot of times, because number one, there are so many murders. I'm not saying this is for your child. A lot of our kids, when our kids are murdered, they're not taken seriously. I don't know what the specific circumstances in regards to what you're talking about, but a lot of times, because there are so many, I was talking to someone the other day, and it was telling me that because their child lived a certain lifestyle, then it was almost like they were saying that they deserved to die, and which is horrible because, our kids don't deserve to die in this way. We need to find better ways of handling our differences, and we have too many of our children that are dying by gun violence simply because we refuse to have a simple conversation.
But I had that conversation. Honestly, my son did everything he was supposed to do. His picture was put on the news. They wanted to question him about something else. We talked to an attorney. We scheduled a time to go meet with a detective. He did that. That morning, he cleared his name. I remember him coming outside and he told the detective, he said, it's the first time I ever walked in the police department and was not charged. and he handed his phone to the detective so the detective can look at his phone. He did what he was supposed to do.
This was the day that he was murdered?
The day that he was murdered. That morning.
Wow.
That morning. We met with the detective about 10:30, about 9 that morning. I dropped my son off around 10:30. He was so happy because, you know, he had cleared his name. He made phone calls. He did a Facebook post and everything. By that night, my son was gone. He was gone, but he did what he was supposed to do.
Wow.
And that's something, anybody that knew my son, he wasn't going to no police station. He'll tell you that. But one thing I can say, Hattiesburg Police Department, they acted fast. And I really, I commend them for that because they acted real fast. And they told us what they was going to do, and they did that. They did that.
So, I'm going to ask 2 questions. You have other children?
Yes.
How many boys?
I have two boys and 2 girls. I was a mother of 5.
Mother of 5. So how are they faring with the loss of their brother?
Man, that's the hardest part because I have to watch them maneuver around without him. Because we are a very close family because it's always been us. So it's like we all be going through around the same time. I can do a Facebook post and I look up my daughter doing one, my baby girl doing one, my son's doing one, and it's hard just watching them because a link in our chain is gone. But we have to pull stronger together, you know, because the type of person he was, he didn't believe in all that sadness and crying. And even when I go to feeling sad, I can hear him say, "Mom, don't do that. I'm straight. Don't do that. I'm straight." And that's all he would always tell me. The hardest part of his murder was when his body came back from the crime lab, he had a smile on his face so pretty. And that let me know my son was at peace.
How long did that take? Because I talked to her mother the other day. It's been 45 days and her daughter's body still has not been released.
It took about a week, if I'm not mistaken, if it took that long. And the funeral home, they come to Jackson and they got his body. The hardest part for me was when I saw that toe tag on his toe. Looking at his face, that was fine. When I saw that toe tag on his toe, reality hit me. He's gone.
So can I ask you a question? This is going to be a real intimate question and it's about the toe tag. So when you went to view his body, you were able to see his entire body?
No, they had him covered up. They had a sheet over him. I was able, to look at his face. I was able to, his leg, his feet was hanging out. I was able to look at his arm. They had bags on both his arms. And when I looked at his feet, and the toe tag was there.
This is pre-embalmed?
After he was embalmed.
After he was embalmed.
After he was embalmed. Because they, if I'm not mistaken, they embalmed him before they brought him back.
Okay.
Because when they got his body back to the funeral home director called me, and I got a couple of my son's friends, and I told them, I said, y'all come on, go down here with me so we can look at everything. That toe tag, man, reality hit me then. He not coming back. When I walked in, it was funny because I said, why is he sweating? And he said, no, Mama, that's not sweat. He was like, that's what we put on their face and on their eyes so their eyes won't stick together. I said, I'm finna say. But it was, I have to look at, even though it's a sad situation, I have to find humor in it to keep me going. That's why any platform I get, I talk about his life. I talk about, who he was. They may have known him as wearing a color, or they may have known him by his nickname. That was not who he was. That was not who I gave birth to. His name was Tedarron. That was his name, my Christmas baby. He was born Christmas Day. I mean, he was special from the beginning.
Yeah, the reason why I asked about the embalming was we requested to see my daughter pre her embalmed state. And it's just amazing how peaceful. My baby looked so peaceful. And her skin was almost glowing. She has an ebony dark skin anyway. But it was like it was supernatural kind of glow. And my baby had one eye open and one closed.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that. And I asked about the rest of it because I never got a chance to see. I don't know if I was, I mean, we were in there alone. I probably could have if I wanted to. But I don't think I had the guts to unzip from the neck down. I don't think I would have. I don't know what I would have done having to
I know.
see the wound.
I know I didn't have the guts to do it. Even with
He was shot one time?
No. My son was shot 13 times.
Wow.
13 times. He was.
Wow.
I asked the question because his feet was like this. And I said, why his feet turned like that? And they told me that his legs was broke. I don't know where all he was shot at because I have not seen the autopsy report. I chose not to see it. But one thing I was told that his murder was the second most horrific murder in Forest County.
Wow.
Because of the number of times that he was shot.
For that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his legs were broken. That's the reason why
his feet was turned out.
Yeah,
his legs was broken. And I don't know, like, I know they said he was shot in the chest. That's what they said. I don't know. I didn't look at his chest part. All I wanted to see was his face.
Yeah.
My baby face was not messed up at all. My baby had a peaceful look. He had a smile on his face. And, you know, I thank God for the people that he placed in my life during that time because everything that I felt like I had to do, they stepped in and they did it. All the way down to the obituaries, all the way down to purchasing his casket spread, his clothes. I mean, when I tell you the love that was shown in the community, I was just like, wow. And I thought it was something wrong with me because I didn't grieve long. And I didn't cry. And I had several of his friends to tell me, we supposed to be comforting you, but you're comforting us. Because it's like, I had to look at it through the spiritual mindset that he wasn't mine. He belonged to God. And I had to release him. And that's what I did. And I just prayed and I asked God, you know, to give me the strength day by day. Do I cry? Yes. Do I get weak? Yes, I do. But I still have to go down on my knees and pray and ask God for strength. That's why any platform that God allowed me to get on and talk about his grace and his mercy, his goodness, how he brought me through this and how he's carrying me through. I never asked God to take me out of the trial. I asked God to take my hand and walk me through the trial and give me the wisdom on the other side. And God give me a peace. When I feel sad, I look at a picture. I watch a video of him. Because my son, he loved that song, Working Your Shoulders. And they got several videos of him in the club doing that dance. I'll go back and I'll look at that. I said, boy, look at it.
I'm going to have to look that up because I don't know what Working Your Shoulders is.
I'm going to have to send you that video.
Send me that video.
Because, I mean, and he was one, he was so light on his feet. He loved to crip walk. And he did, and I look at videos and I celebrate his life. I don't look at it as his death. I celebrate his life because he was one of a kind. And just to see the number of people that still talks about him, it let me know he left a legacy. He started a trend. He started a tradition, you know, even during his death. So many people just came together. They was coming up to me, Miss Price, you don't know me, but I had respect for Donkey Log. I had this, I had that, and we would just sit back, and I was like, and all I can hear him say is, I told you I wasn't no joke. I told you we were gonna see. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, all I thought he did was act the fool. That's all he did around here, but he was well known.
Yeah. Well, it's the beauty. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about ashes to beauty, and God promises, that He'll give us beauty for our ashes, and it's amazing how even in the midst of death, that you're able to see so much hope, and so many people that you've never seen before that come and give a testimony of how much your child impacted their life. And that's part of the beauty of it. And to see all of the ways, and we're going to talk about, some of the ways that, the people in his life have been celebrating since his death. We're going to get into some more details about that. We're going to go to a commercial break. And then right after we go to our commercial break, then we're going to come back and we'll talk about how, we're going to talk about the criminal justice process, if you don't mind. And then we're going to talk about some of the ways that his friends have been celebrating his life. Okay? Tonight's show is brought to you by EarthBlendCoffee.Global. Black owned, roasted right here in the city of Jackson. It's just great coffee. The link is in the Facebook description box. Click on the link and support our sponsor, EarthBlendCoffee.Global.
Get ready for the most thought-provoking show on the web. The Cyber Voice, every Tuesday through Friday at 8 p.m. on the We Believe Digital Podcast and Roku TV. We tackle the big topics, and we have a solution for our community. Tune in to the We Believe Digital Podcast. Also, follow on all social media. Let's make a difference together.
Socrates Garrett Live every Friday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with church leaders, politicians, business owners, and others. The time is now. Talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live every Friday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.
Okay, welcome back. So, Ms. Price, before we went to finish our last segment, we were talking about your son and some of the ways that the community came together during his death. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Well, they started our annual Donk Day. Don't ask me the date because I just go with the flow. My daughter and a lot of his friends, they got together. They did a big barbecue. We fed the community. For his birthday, they did a celebration for his birthday. Every month or so, the store that he was killed at, there's a pole right there. They decorate the pole. I mean, it's not a time really that you go by there that no one is by that pole. It was like, sometimes I pass, I be like, what are they doing at that pole? Or somebody will go live, from the pole. And one of his friends, he told me, he said, Mom, he said, it's innocent blood on that ground. And he said, so you have to know how important or what that means to us. And I was like, I never looked at it like that. They said, because he didn't die because of his lifestyle. That wasn't what took his life. And I was like, wow. And just couple days ago. They went and they put a poster up. They put a couple more things on the pole. They put some flowers and everything. They come together a lot. I mean, for my birthday, a lot of his friends text me, telling me happy birthday. They send me pictures, and some people send me videos of him and things like that. But they do a lot to celebrate him.
So you said that he didn't die because of his lifestyle. Can you elaborate on why he was killed?
Misunderstanding. It was someone else that had got killed 3 days, like that Sunday, 4 day that Sunday morning. And my son and that young man was real close. So from my understanding, the Hattiesburg Police Department wanted to talk to my son just to find some information. They put his picture on the news. When they put his picture on the news, that's when we contacted an attorney, and the attorney set up the time for him to go and talk to the detective, and he did that. So the young man that was killed that Sunday is the young man that killed my son. It was 7 people involved in my son's
Someone related to the
someone related to that young man.
Oh, okay.
Is the one that killed my son.
So there were 7 people that have been arrested. But they haven't gone through the trial process yet.
No.
So tell me what your experience has been like, as you know, from the beginning to the end. But first, let's talk about the funeral part, and because one of the most difficult parts for me was the picking out the clothes and that kind of situation. Was that difficult for you as well?
I didn't have to pick out the clothes. My son didn't wear suits, so that's one thing I told him. I'm not going to put him in a suit. My son loved Dickies, so they a couple of his friends, they went to New Orleans and got him a white Dickie suit. And several of them wore white Dickies. Some of them wore khaki, some of them wore blue. Then they had his name put on one side and his girlfriend and his daughter's name put on the other side. They got him everything that he needed. So I didn't even have to pick it. I went and bought him some Dickies, and one of his friends was like, "Mom, can we put him in white?" I said, sure. You know, because if I would have denied them what they were doing, it's like I would have denied who he was, and I couldn't do that.
So you allow basically his friends and the community to celebrate along with you in how you allowed your son to be buried. I don't mean by celebrate.
Even during the wake, I gave them the last hour for them to do, you know, whatever they wanted to do. And they respected every wish that I had. They respected that to the fullest. And even the day of the funeral, I mean, the car line coming from Hattiesburg to Prentice, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm looking behind us, I'm looking in front of us, and I'm like, wow, really? Wow. You know, and when we got, you know, to the grave cycle, we had to do a graveside service. My pastor, my spiritual father was there, my spiritual mother, my pastor, they all was there, and they greeted me. And, you know, everybody was looking at me to just, you know, to break down. But God gave me the strength that I needed, you know, to just hold everything together. And honestly, I thank God for my spiritual parents, because of the word God had allowed them to instill in me ever since I became a member of Dominion and Power Family Life Center. And that I'm always reminded of, you know, you got a birth date, but you don't know when your death date is. But we all got to go that way. We don't know how we going. And if God told us we was gonna go, we'll be trying to negotiate. God, can I just stay just for a little while longer, whatever. But I just thank God for my spiritual, just my spiritual teaching, because that's what guided me.
Wow. So you didn't have to worry about any of that, and it was a way for you, I guess, probably to even allow them to just partake in the whole healing process. Would just allow everybody to participate.
My daughter, both of my daughters, I mean, they were phenomenal. I mean, far as writing out the obituary, my classmate, she came and she did the obituaries. It's just like, and then my dad, my mom, it was like God put everybody in place. Everything I thought I had to do, they did it.
And it's amazing, you know, like, you know, we was talking earlier, you were talking about, you know, the Lord put the right people there. And in these times, you see the best of people and you see the worst of people. Sounds like in your situation, you saw the best of people. For me, I saw the worst of people, but then I saw the best of people. And I saw my friends, you know, the people that the Lord had allowed to be in my life for years. I mean, we've been friends for 30 years or more, to just step in where I didn't have to say what I needed. They knew what I needed, you know, and that was a blessing to me. For them to just step in, you know, there was one that went with me to pick out clothes and paid for the clothes. One went with me to view my baby's body, you know. And one that guarded me, protected me from all of the, you know, craziness of funerals and people that protected me through that, and that was helpful. And so you're able to see God's hands even in the midst of all of the, you know, of the hurt that you're experiencing. Because really, we don't really, I don't think we really grieve until after everybody's gone, after the, and I call it noise. So after all of the noise of it all settles, you know, he's buried, you know, people have gone back to their places, and then we're left to grieve.
My spiritual father, he called one of the young ladies that go to our church that was there throughout. I mean, when I tell you she was out of town working when she heard, she called my daughter. She said, I'm on the road, I'm headed back. And she came back, and my spiritual father told her, don't leave her side. Don't leave her. My spiritual mother, she kept, you know, she would call, she would tell her, check on her, how she doing, check on her, how she doing. My class, the class of 1990, when I tell you, once they found out, they started coming, you know, with food, with whatever they could do, they did it. Church members, everybody made sure we didn't have to cook every day. They made sure we ate every single day. Friends was just stepping in, even the day of the funeral for the repast. They cooked the food, bought the food, served the food. I mean, my classmates came down, they helped serve, they helped clean up, they set up tents, they did a lot. And I just sat there and I just looked, and I was telling my spiritual mom, she was like, daughter, do you need us to do anything? And I said, Mom, I said, everything is taken care of. She said, are you sure? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, everybody's stepping in doing stuff. And she said, you know, you're seeing the fruits of your labor, because I'm a giver. I mean, wherever I'm, even during the time that with my son passing, God still had me working. God still had me doing stuff, and that's what helped me get through the process.
Same way with me, you know, my Redeemer Church family, I mean, they brought meals. We had meals way after Lexi had passed, you know, and the facility, you know, we were able to use the facility there. I mean, people just came and did for us. They took such good care. And you know, I always talk about the providence of God, and even that, you know, God knew I needed Redeemer during the time that I lost my baby. He knew I needed Redeemer. And, you know, people can say what they want to say about the sovereignty of God, but I believe that God knows way ahead of time. He's an all-knowing God, and he orders our steps. So this didn't catch him by surprise. It caught me by surprise, but it definitely didn't catch God by surprise. And I know God he knew that I needed to be there in the care of people that I know love me.
Yeah. And when he does it, you sit back and you be like, God, wow, really? You know, and I was, steady trying to do this, steady trying to do that. And they was like, we got this. We got this. You got other stuff you need to be doing. We got this. I was like, wow. Wow. And then, I was reminded, the fish and the 5 loaves of bread. It was like the cupboard never did run bare. People was, they would come, pull big grills up, pull out, pick 5s, and they would grill, and I mean, it would be more than enough. They made sure that we ate. My baby girl, she was my protector. I mean, she handled a lot of things. Her and my oldest daughter, their personalities is totally different. Because my oldest daughter, she's kind of quiet, but that baby girl, she was like, don't bother my mom, don't bother my mom, So it was just,
and you needed that.
Yes, and it was like I was just sitting back and I was just looking, and I think back now. And I wouldn't take nothing for my journey. Even though I lost a son, God gave me so many others. And all I can say is I'm grateful.
See, this is gonna bring tears to my eyes because, I tell people that I know I'm in the perfect will of God right now. Never before have I felt like I've in the perfect will of God. Now, I had to lose my child in order to get there, but I'm in the perfect will of God. Not to say that I don't miss my baby. I love my baby, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that I had to experience that in order for me to be talking to you today. No other reason would you and I have met had it not been for us losing our babies. You see?
God, He would turn your pain into your purpose. And you got to go through to get to. And it comes a time when you say you have faith, God gonna put you through a test to see how much do you trust Him. And I had to tell God, though I'm going through this right now, I trust you. I trust you. All I need for you to do is to give me strength for the journey.
You did that from day one? Because I was like...
I did a post on Facebook. And
hold that thought.
Okay.
We're going to go to commercial break. And then when we come back from commercial break, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to get into the justice system.
Okay.
Tonight's show is brought to you by earthblendcoffee.global, black-owned roasted right here in Jackson, Mississippi. It's just great coffee. The link is in the Facebook description box. Click on the link and support our sponsor, earthblendcoffee.global. Okay, tell me a little bit about the criminal justice system. What happened? Give me some details. Tell me what happened.
With the criminal justice system, it's like I feel that the bonds that they set for certain crimes or some crimes are too low in different areas, because I've been watching things that have been going on around. Certain areas they're higher, certain areas they're not.
So you were able to actually sit at the bond hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
They gave me a victim's advocate. She kept me informed on everything. When they were arrested, when they were going for their bond hearing, we was able to attend that. Because of the pandemic, they did it, via video and everything. But every last one of them, I was able to sit in on their bond hearing. And even with the what is it? When they were indicted, I wasn't able to be there for 6 of them for their indictments. But I was able to be there for the one that actually shot my son. I was able to be there for him.
Okay. See, I wasn't privy to any of that. The way I learned about the bonds were via the media. No one contacted me about any of that.
When my son was killed, they gave me the victim's advocate name. They gave me a packet. They gave me the victim's advocate name and phone number. The next day, she contacted me. And me and her met, and we talked. And she told me who she was, what she was going to do, any questions that I had, anything that I needed, she was right there. So once they was through with the investigation and the district attorney's office, they gave me a victim's advocate. And even now, she keeps me informed on the trial. She keeps me informed on everything that's basically going on. If I have any questions, I contact her.
That's what victims advocacy is. In my case, in a lot of people's cases, that's not what happens. And for me, I didn't meet the victim's advocate until the day before one of the hearings. And never had, any outside communication with any victim's advocate during the 3-year period that I was in this criminal justice system.
One thing I can say about, Forest County, they were on point with everything, that they did. And even the detectives, they offered, if I had any questions, I can contact them. There were 2 times I actually went and talked to the chief of police, because I wanted an update on what was going on. I wanted to know how far along they were with the investigation, because I know a lot of things take time, but I don't want it to be to the point to where they felt like I was one of those people that was going to go away, because my son's life mattered, and I let them know that. Anytime that I scheduled an appointment to talk to the chief, they made sure that he was, he or she was available, and we sat in and they gave me updates. I even talked to one of the lieutenants. They gave me updates on everything that was going on. Now I know the police department is done with, and now it's just the district attorney's office. I have even sat and talked with the district attorney several times. And he have been open and honest with me. I feel like that he has. Even with the victim advocate, anytime I call her and I have a question, she makes sure that question gets answered. She's not one of those that don't call me back or don't respond or anything like that. She's not.
Wow. That's definitely not the case with a lot of people. Yeah. And this is what, one of the things that I wanted to stress to moms or people that are have children that have been killed. They have to make it known that they do not want their child's murder to go cold. They have to make sure of that, because once it's a cold case, then it's cold to them. And unless we go back or the family goes back and make a ruckus about, the death of whoever it is, then it'll continue to be cold.
Yeah.
So, so there were 7 people that were arrested. Including the person that actually did the shooting. And so, so what happens now?
Now we're just waiting. They all were indicted, so now we're just waiting on the system to go, I guess take its course or whatever. With the pandemic, it's a hold up on a lot of different things, and I'm open-minded about it. But I let them know that I'm still here. I let them know I want justice for my son.
So everybody is out on bond?
Everybody except for the one that actually killed my son.
Okay. And so how do you feel about that?
I don't feel good about it. I don't. But I have to be open-minded with the judicial system. I know everybody is entitled to a bond, even though we may feel like that they don't need one. I have to just really just be slow to speak and quick to listen, and I just have to walk soft.
What are their charges?
Accessory before the fact, accessory after the fact, and hindering prosecution.
Okay.
But they all are charged with different things.
Okay. And this was in regards to what happened prior to them arresting the person that actually shot your son.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you have any idea when the court cases will be?
I know the one that killed my son, he actually supposed to go to trial October the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be August the 24th, but it was postponed because due to the pandemic. It was postponed to August the 5th. So we're going to see.
Okay. So I don't know how much information you can tell me with all of these cases still out. So can you tell me whether or not the individuals that are charged, not the one that was the shooter, have you been able to contact them?
No.
No.
One thing, during the bond hearing, the judge did say they are to have no contact with me or anyone in his family.
Okay. Okay. So, we were talking spiritually before. We went to the break before, and I was talking about being in God's will, and I know, I had to do that. Are you able to forgive them?
Not right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I say I forgive them, it will be from my lips and not from my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to even sit here and tell no lie. I know my walk with God, I have to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I can't forgive.
Mm-hmm.
I have to trust God's process.
Mm-hmm.
And they took a part of me when they took my son. Whatever part they played in it, they took a part of me. Right now, no.
It's hard. I mean, because let me say this. When my daughter was first kid, I was never angry. I don't know why, but I've never been angry. I wanted justice for her, and I wanted it to be done here. But as I've gone through the criminal justice system, I realized that the system is full of broken people, so the system is going to be broken. And there's no way that my child is going to be granted justice. And there's no way that the other people will be granted justice. And so in the midst of all of that, I forgave them from day one, because if I had not forgiven them, I would not be able to do my ministry. And I'm not saying everybody has their own walk, and I'm not putting my walk on you, or what I was able to do, because we have to work out our own soul salvation. We know that. So, but I was able to forgive them, and then be able to see this. Now, this has got to be a God thing. The fact that if one of those young men was the same age as my son, and if there had been my son's name is Jermaine, if there had been Jermaine, I would have been over there on the other side with my baby. And so my heart just broke, because all of us in this place, because of one bad decision. That's why my heart breaks. That's why we have to stop before we get to that place.
Right.
Because we have so many parts and pieces here that none of us want to be here. Because of one bad decision, and all of these people are just in this place. And so now we're here in the criminal justice system, and we expect the justice system to do what it's supposed to do. We have to hold them accountable. God wants us to do that too. He wants us to hold these people accountable for the things that they've done wrong, So in that,
one reason why I can't forgive right now is because we had a conversation before all of this. I told them I was gonna make sure my son went and talked to the police department I told them I was going to do this, and my son did this. But now we had this conversation, and once my son cleared his name, he cleared his name with the police department, but that wasn't good enough for you. So you in turn, by the night, my son is dead.
So you know these people. These are people that you know.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The whole entire thing is complicated.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we still have court cases to go through, and we don't want to get too deep into that. And I wanted you to know that I'm appreciative of you being here. Tell us a little. We only have like 2 minutes, so you have to tell me a little bit about SWAT and what that's all about.
SWAT is surviving with a testimony. I never thought that I would have to go through it without my son.
Mm-hmm.
Once my son was killed, I put more into SWAT and my business. And what I do with SWAT right now, I go to different platforms. Anybody that invite me out, I talk about gun violence. I talk about, losing a child. I talk about gangs. I talk about, anything I can do to help a mother walk through the path that I have walked through. Mm-hmm. Anything that I can do to be that shoulder to lean on, that voice for my son, because my dead man can't talk. Mm-hmm. So right now, I'm his voice. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm talking about him. Right now, I'm talking about who he was, who I gave birth to, not who the streets knew. Mm-hmm. So SWAT was really birthed years ago. But surviving with the testimony, it comes from the death of my son.
Mm. So give us some information about SWAT and how they can get in contact with you.
Well, you can get in contact with me. My name is Coreaner Price. My email is Coreaner, Coreaner 34 @yahoo.com. My cell phone number is 228-284-7878. Any platform that you may have, you need me to come out and speak and talk to young children, talk to young adults, even about death, even about gang violence, even about just being the mother of an incarcerated child. I would do that. Anything that I can do to be that shoulder to lean on for any mother.
Thank you so much for that. And as you guys know, Grant Me Justice is www.grant-me-justice.org. And my telephone number is 601-540-2817. So, again, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a blessing. I'll be praying for you and all of these different court cases. Would you keep us abreast of what's
We're
happening?
connected now.
Okay, good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we connected now.
Global, where we empower mothers who have lost children to violence. My daughter, Alexia K. Buckhalter, was murdered on March 14, 2017, here in the city of Jackson. Each program is dedicated to her memory. Welcome to the Felecia Marshall Experience.